Well, welcome back. Today, I'm very excited about our guest that we have in here, Jenny Stripling from the Northside Neighborhood House, which is an awesome nonprofit here in Chattanooga. Jenny, welcome to our studio.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, glad to have you here. Now, let's get your official title before we get into all the casual stuff. What is your official title with Northside?
So I'm the Chief Development Officer for the Northside Neighborhood House.
Okay, and I'll just say there's lots of people that have no clue what development means. So at least in the nonprofit setting. So what does that mean in general? Define the term for it.
So in general, I'm responsible for all the fundraising and the marketing of the organization. So ensuring that we've got money to fund our mission. And telling that story.
Yes. And does that include like you also gather volunteers, or do you have another staffer that does the volunteer gathering?
We have another staff who really works directly with the volunteers. But again, that's part of development, and whether we're working with churches or corporations or, youth groups, you name it, it's part of development, making those relationships so that we can connect them and get them engaged.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's start with just going back to some easier questions. Who is Jenny? I want to know who Jenny is first. So give people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So, I still consider myself relatively new to Chattanooga. We moved here 3 years ago.
Okay.
I started with the Northside Neighborhood House June 1st of 2021. So,
hey, very cool.
Yeah, so it was very awesome. But grew up in Clinton, Tennessee, right outside of Knoxville.
Okay, great.
We raised our family there in Knoxville.
Okay, I used to go to Cedar Springs Presbyterian in Knoxville.
Awesome.
Yeah,
we were at Cokesbury United Methodist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just down the street.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I was go Volunteers. I was at all.
Me too.
Yeah, I like the orange. I like the orange.
I'm wearing a little orange. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Yeah, well, I'll not go into football fandom. We'll just have a conversation after the podcast. Okay.
We can talk baseball right now, so we can talk baseball fandom. How's that?
So you grew up in the Knoxville area and lived there until recently?
Until recently,
So that's a huge move.
Well, we moved from Knoxville to Nashville.
Okay.
So I worked with the American Cancer Society for 27 years.
Oh, wow.
And that's what took us to Nashville, and we lived there, I guess, 4 years. Pandemic came along, and found myself looking for a new opportunity, and took a year off to really try to figure out what it was I wanted to do and where I needed to plug in. My husband works from home, and I think he also was like, it's time for you to go back to work because you're driving me crazy. But anyway, just cast the net wide. Chattanooga is an area that we have loved. My in-laws live here, and growing up, bringing my children down here, love this area, love this community, loved everything about Chattanooga. And we've always said, it's like, how about Chattanooga?
And the traffic is significantly better than Nashville.
Gosh. Yes.
At least for now. For now, yes. There are warning signs of the future, but we've got probably 10 to 15 years.
Exactly, 10 to 15. But the good thing with Chattanooga, you can get anywhere on a back street. You don't have to be on the interstate.
There's truth to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how the door opened here to come to Chattanooga?
Yeah, well, we were happy where we lived. And so I was looking at positions there because my husband, like I said, works from home, so he could work from anywhere. Had family still and still do in Knoxville. It's like we could go back to Knoxville or try something new. And Chattanooga just won our hearts, really. And the work of the Northside, it was really, really drew me with just what the Northside Neighborhood House does. Really kind of drew me in. It's just having worked with a national nonprofit and switching to a super local nonprofit was very attractive.
Okay, so you've gotten my interest there. What's give some of the differences of how that feels and what's it like as far as a work environment?
Yeah. So, as far as a work environment, with the large organization, it was hard to make change quickly because there are many layers of decision making that goes into it. And that is one of the things that I really love about the Northside Neighborhood House. If we see a need, we can pivot pretty quickly to address that need and to help the community. And so it's been refreshing.
Yeah, no. Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about Northside Neighborhood House. we got your origin story a little bit. Let's get a little bit of their origin story, because I know you guys are celebrating an anniversary this year.
We are, yeah, 100 years.
That's wild.
Which is incredible. When I think about that, it blows me away. In all honesty, it just blows me away. So the Northside Neighborhood House started on the North Shore. There were several ladies that saw a need in the community and said, we need to do something about this. I mean, we really need to address this. They were walking down to the post office. They lived in what was Hill City, which is, the North Shore. And basically, they saw all of these families living along the riverbanks, and they were in lean-tos, shanties. So they just started with conversation and asking questions. It's like, what do you need? How can we help you? And the two things that kept coming back over and over from the families: we need bedding for our families, bedding for our children, and we need education for our children, trying to get them up to speed to where they could enter elementary school when the time came.
Wow.
So instead of, these women were wealthy. I mean, they could have just gone back, collected bedding, handed it to them. Instead of doing that, they decided to teach a skill. And so they brought the wives, the women, the mothers, brought them together and taught them how to quilt. So now they had a skill so they could take care of themselves and provide for their family. And then they also rallied together, got a building, and started an education program for the students so that they could be ready to go to school when time came.
Very cool. It is, it's fascinating to me for so many of the nonprofits, or even some schools, of how they got started with just teaching some of these basic skills. Like if you think of Berry College, or if you've ever read Up from Slavery by Booker T. Washington, and the history of how he started his school and all the trades that he just taught people. It's like, I really feel that we could use a lot of this right now, as far as with where people are with trades. Okay, so that's the start of the organization. Then let's keep moving forward with the timeline and where you guys, how are you? Give us the interim, and then where you guys are today. Let's just keep carrying the story forward.
So the beautiful thing about the Northside Neighborhood House back then, responding to the needs. So over the years, they started kindergarten classes. I mean, because, kindergartens didn't exist in the school system. So they started kindergarten classes. They started cooking classes, continued with quilting classes, classes.
That's when they started the cooking classes, was because
it started
I was just there not long ago, and they're still doing cooking classes. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're still teaching people how to cook. And so it's all about empowerment. I mean, we're teaching people skills that can take them, so that they can be self-sufficient, really. We distributed coal at one point. We were milk distribution. I've met several older adults that are like, oh, I remember going there. That's where they gave the shots, to go to school. And it's like, that's their memory. I'm like, well, we're more than that now. We're so much more. Please don't remember us for that. But
you didn't pull teeth as well, did you?
No, we didn't do that.
Well,
I don't think we did that.
Going for you.
I don't think we did that. If they did, it was just because somebody had a loose one.
They've scrubbed that from the memory. Yeah.
They've scrubbed that. But it really has been about responding to the needs that are current in the community, and then leaning into education. And I guess it was in the 2000s, we moved into our current location in the late 80s, right at 1989, 1990. And it was built because we were continuing on with after-school programming. And so we had students who would come down after school, and they were getting assistance with, either tutoring assistance, homework assistance, teaching cooking classes, art classes, just trying to keep the kids engaged and then teaching them a skill. And then in 2017, we made a strategic decision to move out of our building, recognizing that we could serve more students if we took our programming into the schools. And so that's where we started our community school program. And it follows a national model. Community schools follows a national model. But what's unique to ours is that after school piece in the middle and the high school space, so that students have a place to belong and they have a place to go to get support, to ensure that they're succeeding in school, and to ensure that they're not going home to an empty house. more than anything.
Right.
And they've got a community, building a community. So that's one of the ways that we have continued to grow as an organization. I would say that's one of the largest areas. We are now in 10 schools in the North Hamilton County footprint, which is we doubled this past year in the number of
Wow.
schools. And it just gives us that opportunity to impact more students and their families.
Yeah. So like, let's go a little bit more into detail on the school after school program and what
Yeah.
that's like. So, um, what do you do when you've got the kids there, kind of a thing, and just speak a little bit more into that. Give a little more
Yeah.
detail since we've got the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way the program works, we've got staff embedded in these 10 schools. So we're in the Hickson feeder pattern, so elementary, middle, and high school. We're in the Red Bank feeder pattern, the Saudi Daisy feeder pattern, and then in Sale Creek Middle High School. And so our staff are embedded in those schools. They're there during the workday, working alongside teachers and the administration, supporting them because they need as much love and support as anybody else.
Right.
And then also working hand in hand with them, specifically with students that may be that may need a specialized educational plan, to make sure that they're getting the support that they need to be successful in school. Then after school, students, we run various clubs in the middle and high schools, and in that space, the first amount of time is spent doing their homework because we want to make sure they get the homework done.
Right.
That's first and foremost.
And having that public accountability really does help.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And then from there, then we go into some of the skill building. We've got different groups that come in that are helping to mentor these students. We have a church in Saudi Daisy that has come in to help teach carpentry skills, and they have built an outdoor an outdoor cafeteria at the school. So those students have pride in the fact that they
did that.
They did that, and they learned a new skill. Because everything that we're going to be doing in that after school space is going to be around skill development and giving them a new skill. So we do cooking classes. We've done sewing. They've learned yoga, archery, mountain biking, just a variety of stuff. And a lot of it depends upon the volunteers who are willing to walk alongside us. And it's like, I got a skill. Here's what I can do. How can I help? And it's just been it's really cool and impactful.
That's fantastic. I remember, this is going to sound maybe a little weird, but I remember I got through high school and then college, and I was a good student, on paper.
Mm-hmm.
I made great grades, but I remember getting toward the end of my college career, and I thought, I don't actually know how to do anything but school. And so the skill sets. This is not just something I think for this group of kids, but just as something like, gosh, we need to be thinking about what are kids going to do that becomes immediately marketable, and having something that you can show for other than just grades. So I just love that you're doing that. Okay. So I know you guys have your hands full. So that's not the only thing that you do. So tell about some of the other things that you do. Let's just sort of do a run through on each of your programs or
so you're right. Community schools is just one aspect of what we do.
Yes.
The other part is our stability support programming. And so basically, through our stability programming, we're there to walk alongside our neighbors when they're hit with a financial hardship. These are individuals, the families we're working with, they have jobs. They're working people. It's just they're not making enough money to make ends meet. Mm-hmm. And, your car breaks down and you have to make a decision. What are you going to do? Are you going to get your car repaired so you can go to work? And if you do, where's that money coming from? You're going to pay your rent.
Right.
Just very hard decisions that individuals are having to make on a regular basis. And so if an individual is faced with that type of situation, they call us. Now I want to clarify, we only serve individuals who live north of the river.
And let's just pause there for a second. I think a lot of people, when they think of Hamilton County, they think of all these people that are south of the river that are struggling financially. And yes, there are a lot of people there. But that was part of why Northside Neighborhood House was started, was because everyone was saying, hey, there's a bunch of poverty, and there still is a bunch of poverty north of the river. Yes. And they kind of get, as far as the social services and everything, a lot of it's focused south of the river. And so you guys have this huge, even today, it's like 100 years later, this problem is still prevalent in
It
Hamilton
is.
County, where north of the river, there's poverty that'll blow your mind there too.
It is. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. But yes, we were specifically founded to support people who live north of the river.
And you guys have pretty much stayed true to
We
that
have stayed
mission,
100%
and that's
true
been
to
a
that.
very and
Yeah.
I just got to say, I mean, we're a ministry that's, there's stuff that we do that could be taken elsewhere, outside of the Metro Chattanooga area for us. But there is something very special to being a geographically focused ministry. There's something of like just the specialness of saying, no, this place matters, and having a place matters. And, even another thing that we're, I think, losing in our society, because, we're so mobile and we move around so much, is that we lose a sense of rootedness to something
True.
with having roots. And so even having a
Yeah.
100-year-old organization has, it's like if you tie into this, you're tying into something with roots.
Exactly.
It helps you become part of this thing that has gone before you, kind of a thing. Anyways, okay, I totally interrupted you.
No.
You focus on the people.
No, that is so perfect. I mean, because you were 100% correct. So many of the social service agencies are housed over off of Brainerd. I mean, at Old Eastgate Mall. That's where many of those organizations. So
and they're doing good, important work.
Incredible
we love it,
work.
Yes,
incredible work. And so transportation becomes a real barrier, because public transportation stops at the tunnel coming through Red Bank, coming into Red Bank. So if you live on this side, it is a resource desert. So one of the things that we did, I think it was in 2019, we opened our coffee community collective in Soddy Daisy. And so it's a coffee shop on the front. In the back, we were like, the coffee shop is the front porch. In the back are offices where we meet individuals, where we have some of those partner agencies. They may come out once a week, once a month. But we work with many organizations that have space back there, or use our space to meet their clients and the people that they're serving, helping to reduce that barrier, to address that barrier. So,
and it's a cool space.
Yeah, it is. And good cup of coffee too. Very good cup of coffee.
And tea for those of you that are tea drinkers.
And
some of us are anti-coffee. We don't hold it against the coffee drinkers. We just can't bring ourselves to drink that.
We do have some fun,
very bitter drink.
Summer sodas. So
yeah, okay. Yep.
Oh, but yeah, that is so that is part of it. And those stability services. I mean, when somebody comes to us and needs assistance, there's several steps to it. I mean, first off, verify that they have income. We're here to help people because it's about building accountability and empowering people to help themselves to move forward. We sit down and we look at their budget, and we have to have some tough conversations sometimes to say, you're spending too much in this category, and help educate them too. Like, for example, with housing, I just heard this stat yesterday. 31% of our budget should be 31% should be allotted for housing. Many of the people that we're seeing, their housing budget is about 60% of their annual income. And that's hard. I mean, because at the end of the day, if you're putting that out and you start filling in, you need insurance, or is it groceries or whatever, you're in a negative deficit at the end of each month.
Right.
And so many of the individuals who turn to us, that's why they're turning to us. They need assistance.
And this might be putting you on the spot a little bit, but what is the reason for that? Because I mean, housing is obviously becoming more expensive, and that's obviously going to make it more difficult for people to find housing within that budget range. But what are some of the reasons why that is the case, that it's 60%? Is that because some people are living beyond their means, or they didn't know what they were getting into with loans, or
it could be so many different things. Some of it is access to better paying jobs.
Okay.
On this side of the river.
Yep.
It could be part of that, or there's not transportation to get to a better paying job, wherever it may be. So that plays into it. Some of it could be education. I mean, there's just so many things that could play into it.
And again, just with the population density being, south of the river, you work with, so many of these communities where people are really struggling, financially, but it's at least easier for them to get to jobs with the transportation. It's not the same north of the river.
Not the same.
And the pay is even worse in lots of cases. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So I think all of those factors play into that. all of it. And I mean, many of the clients that we see, neighbors that we see, we have heard over and over, it's like they've lived somewhere for some time renting, and another company comes in and buys up the place, and the rent has gone up $400 a month. And they have nowhere else to turn except for accepting that rent increase. And so trying to figure out what that journey is going to look
And this
like.
is a thing, in case people don't know this, about apartment complexes. I want to say it's something like between 2 to 4 years, those things are getting sold just about. That's just how these people make money with these companies. They come in, they buy them, turn them around, do a few little, paint the pig, so to speak. That's really terrible to say, but they don't necessarily fix it up or make it that much better. They'll paint the outside of it, kind of a thing, and then
Yeah.
sell it for a profit, and then move on to the next
Yeah.
capital
Well, I
gain.
mean, it's unfortunate there are individuals who are impacted by that.
Yeah.
Can't say
Okay.
that that's the case
Sure.
across.
Sure.
There are some fabulous landlords out there as
Yes,
well.
and I do want to
Yeah.
say that.
One of the cool things, a new program that we started, I guess it was last summer, is called Good Tenant. It's a workshop where individuals who are renting or leasing a property can come and receive this certification. We're working with the Tennessee Department of Housing, the Consumer Credit Counseling Service, and the Eviction Prevention, or
Mm,
can't remember if it's eviction prevention or legal aid of East Tennessee.
okay.
But basically, it's a workshop where four main things, if I can remember the four. One, they're learning the importance of a budget and being educated. They're receiving education about this is what the budget should look like. That 30, you want to be in that 30% range. Um, how to talk to your landlord. What does that look like?
Mm,
What are your rights as a renter? But also, how do you advocate for yourself, and how do you and your landlord have a constructive conversation? The
mm.
landlords are not all, they're not bad people,
Right.
so how do you have that conversation? um they focus on credit and why credit matters. They talk about the importance of how you can boost your credit score, but the importance of, if you've got a bad credit rating, it's hard to get a good place to stay. I
Right.
mean, that place. And if you are evicted from somewhere because you did not pay,
It's even more
that
difficult.
really does a lot more damage to your credit than you think.
Mm.
And then the
But having this class certification probably helps you get
it does.
back
It
on your feet.
does. And then the fourth area is really what is the fourth area? I think it is really related to oh, what was it? I don't know. It'll come to me.
Yeah,
It'll come to me.
when it comes
But
later.
the important part of it is that these individuals then they walk away with this certification. So now we're working with landlords and looking to expand that to work with more landlords to say, okay, if somebody has this certification, how can you help them? And we've already heard some stories. Like there are several who have are currently evaded eviction as a
Fantastic.
result of attending this class. We've had a couple who
Which is one less homeless family or person in
absolutely,
our county. Yeah.
absolutely. And then there are a couple who have actually been able to go to their landlord and have a conversation and say, I understand, I understand the rate increase. I've been here for 4 years, can you throw me a bone? I mean,
It
I
is
have
actually
learned.
amazing how many landlords will, or even apartment complexes
Right.
will negotiate that. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And they've been able to negotiate and keep the rent at the same
Fantastic.
level because they learned how to proactively talk to their landlord, leasing agent, with a constructive conversation. Because the landlords are not the bad people. I
And
mean, the renters are
they
not the
want
bad people.
full.
We want people to work
Yeah.
together in harmony.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and
So
they
it's
want full all their tenants to be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's some cool things that are now coming out of that. We've offered it 3 times, and
Okay.
so it happens on a quarterly basis. And so cool things are coming out of it. And like I said, hoping to deepen the relationships with the landlords
Yeah.
and the apartment complexes, so that they understand what is trying to be accomplished through this.
Yes, and that's just such especially right now, the housing thing just nationwide is something that everybody's got to have their eyes on as far as nonprofits that are working to do services like this. Okay, let's keep going. I know we have not yet exhausted all the things you do.
Well, back on the stability side, talking about the housing, I mean, a large number of individuals who turn to us do need housing assistance. I mean, they are looking for assistance in paying a month's rent or something along those lines. And, talking earlier about how we have pivoted to the needs in the community. Prior to the pandemic, we didn't offer any assistance when it comes to rent or mortgage assistance. It was just all utility or prescription assistance, which those we still assist with. But since the pandemic, I was looking at numbers earlier today. It was around 650. The average rent that we were paying for our neighbors turning to us was $650. This year, we're hovering right around $1,100 a month. Yeah. Yeah, in rent assistance. So you can see the trajectory of how rent is increasing, but it is a real need. And the other thing that's happening in the community, there are many organizations that help with rent assistance, but running out of money. I mean, they've had to either tighten their purse strings or it's gone because the need is so great in our community. And that's one thing we have committed to. We're not gonna turn people away. That if they fall within our parameters and our guidelines, we're not going to turn them away. We're going to see how we can help.
And this is, one of those areas where the well-meaning person is going to want to jump in and help here, but it can actually be so overwhelming so quickly and even hard to steward doing it in a way that's helpful, right? When Helping Hurts was written right here in Chattanooga, and we're not always mindful. Can you speak a little bit, and I know this is, I hope this is not a curveball to you, but a little bit to this, like why it makes sense to, rather than just go find somebody or give to somebody on the street, to give to an organization like Northside Neighborhood House, and how you steward that and make it a helpful process for the people that are involved with you.
Yeah,
I think we're speaking to this a little bit, but just tie those things together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I think one of the things that I really appreciate about the Northside Neighborhood House is that before we hand out any money to anyone, there is a vetting process. I mean, there are several things that they have to produce, that neighbor has to produce. So when a donor...
So they're not a con artist or something else like that?
They're not a con artist. We're checking other databases. I mean, that is happening across Chattanooga. People are like checking databases, are they shopping around or whatever? But I mean, there is a vetting process that the neighbor goes through before we are ever there to help them. But the really unique thing about the Northside Neighborhood House, our motto is a hand up, not a handout. And so even when we're helping somebody financially, they've got skin in the game. They're paying a portion of that bill. We're not paying the full bill. They're going to pay a portion of it. And that's why we sit down and we look at their budget.
And we're at $1,100 a month, and that's only a portion of people's rent.
Yeah. So, but we're sitting down and we're looking at their budget and we're helping them be informed on what a healthy budget looks like, where they can trim. And there are some individuals we work with, we consider them long-term case management, where we're going back on a monthly basis to find out, how's it going? Where are you? And it's been amazing when people are committed, because we want them to be accountable to the process. When they are accountable and committed, they're making great headway to getting back on that pathway to stability. So, I think when you go through an organization that has processes in place, you can be ensured that your dollar is really going to do what the organization says it's going to do.
Yeah, and let me brag on you guys a little bit. I was there. Was it just last month or 2 months ago? I can't even keep track of how long ago.
Time is flying.
Yes, I know. But, I was so impressed with all the staff that I met, to the person, how invested each one of the people. I mean, that's often nonprofits, unless people are like, there overnight. But you just have people that have been there for a while, care deeply about it. They're entrenched in their work in a good way. Obviously sometimes exhausting, because that is the nature of, if you're going to work in nonprofit, you have to have a heart that outweighs your sleep patterns, maybe. But just, these are people that clearly care about the people that they're working with and want to, that are all smart enough to go do something where they could probably make a lot more money than in a nonprofit setting, but just had such big hearts. It was just very wonderful group of people to have met and see, where people were throwing their backs as well as their hearts into stuff. So that's
Thank
cool
you.
thing.
It is a wonderful environment to work in. It's a wonderful group of people, and relationships is one of our core values. And I think the relationships that we hold internally with each other is key to the success of the organization. But more importantly, the relationships that we're building with the people that we serve.
Yeah.
I think about our community school coordinators and the students that they are working with and the influence they are having on these students. It's impactful. There is a student who just graduated from Red Bank High School, and as part of our slogan for our 100th anniversary is "Proud Past, Bright Future."
Mm.
And so she spoke about the bright future, and anyway, she just really spoke about the importance of that relationship that she had with our community school coordinator at Red Bank High School.
Wow.
And how he challenged her. He gave her leadership opportunities. Even said he taught me how to sew on a button, how to cook. I mean, she spoke to those skills, but she just and talked about the importance of not only the relationship with him, but the relationships that she was able to foster within that program and within that school, because she's not native to the United States.
Oh, wow.
She immigrated here several years ago.
Wow.
So, and just a difference that it made for her. And she's the valedictorian of the school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is really, really cool. Yeah.
That is an encouraging
Yeah.
story.
But yeah, empowerment classes are still an important part. I mean, we teach computer classes. If you want a job, you got to have a computer. You got to have those basic skills. And so we're teaching computer classes now in partnership with the Enterprise Center. And then I continue on with the cooking classes, doing that. And the cool thing about the cooking classes, of which I probably should attend because I'm not a very good cook, we focus on healthy recipes. We work with UTC dietitians, then the department over there, dietary science. I don't know what the actual department's name is, but Dr. Melissa Powell is on our board, and so she helps coordinate that, bring in their students. They help create the recipes. And then when they're done, they've learned to cook a healthy meal on a budget. We send them home with the food that they need so that they can replicate that.
I think I've said this maybe on another podcast before, but this was one of the things that I just did not know when in my, I forget how long ago it was, but, it was one of the early times I was working with people that were in poverty. And I'm not claiming to be I know I'm an expert in helping people in that situation, but I was shocked that so many people have zero clue how to cook at all. Like they live off of fast food, which A is expensive and B horribly unhealthy and causes all sorts of additional problems that come about. And now there's even studies I saw. There was some article about how much processed food we eat and what it does to our mental, emotional health. Because if you think of all this stuff it does to spike, blood sugar and other health problems, but just that simple of a thing can be revolutionary to people's lives.
Exactly.
And once you know it, you know how to do it.
You know how to do it.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I need to step in and join the class.
So are there any other programs that you want to just sort of highlight real quick before?
Yeah. We
might be able to be here all day, so we're going to eventually
we got 100 years
off.
to talk about. So the other thing, just to highlight, are our thrift stores.
Yes. That's what I was waiting for.
Which are, incredible. So we have 3 thrift stores. One that is on the North Shore. They're off of Cherokee, Minor Street. We've got one here in Red Bank, and then our third is in Saudi Daisy. And the thrift stores actually generate over half of our operating income. So they're critical to our success and critical to our ability to be able to serve our neighbors. So when individuals make donations, or they shop with us, they're really helping a neighbor. And I hope that is something that people understand. You're not just buying a shirt. When you buy that shirt, you're actually providing a cooking class for somebody, or you're helping pay a
Mm-mm-mm.
prescription, or you're helping cover somebody's housing for a month. So when you shop with us, it really does matter. It's shopping that
Half of your
matters.
operating budget.
Half of our operating
That is
budget.
fantastic. I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, there's the whole thing of like shop local or do local business,
Hmm.
also give to your local thrift store kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Support your local thrift store.
Yeah, there we go.
And they each have their own personality. Each of our stores. I love to tell people it's like the one off of Minor Street. Great clothes. I mean, we've got great clothes in all of them, but you'll find really nice clothes sometimes with tags still on them at that store.
What about is there a big and tall one? Because
I
I
know,
really search
right?
for that section in thrift
I
stores.
know.
Just-
My husband deals with that also. Big
Yeah.
and tall. It's hard.
It's really, yeah.
It's
I'll
hard.
just for those of
We
you
need
out
more
there.
big and tall men to donate their stuff.
Yes. Well, once we find clothes that fit, we hold on to
You
them
hold
until
on to
they
them.
just fall right off.
It's
Like
so
these
true.
shoes, I actually got resold because it's so hard to find shoes my size. Yeah, it's a. Anyways, if anyone's out there, you can shed a tear for me. Okay, so that one's for the clothes.
So that one's got great clothes. I mean, and you'll find great clothes, like I said, in all three. I call Red Bank is where you go for furniture.
Okay.
It's our largest store, and so we've got more space, but you can find great furniture there, exercise equipment.
And
really
is this
cool-
because you guys are moving the stuff, or this is generally what's donated to
What's
these
donated?
spots?
Yeah, what's
so
donated?
people in Red Bank are just getting rid of furniture more than anyone else.
Well, no, I mean, we do move things.
Okay.
We offer a delivery service.
Okay.
So we do pick up
Yes,
for furniture and large appliances, exercise equipment.
Yes, and let me tell you, I have taken advantage of this when we were. So there's a whole renovation for the church I pastor, and when we were cleared out rooms full of furniture, and those guys came by and they had it out
Yeah.
like lightning. So if you're just
They're
like,
fabulous.
I don't want to have a garage sale, and you just want to unload a lot of great furniture, these are the people to call.
Call us.
It's unbelievable.
Call
Yes.
us. We will ask for a photo, and sometimes we do turn people away if it is
Okay.
not good.
Okay.
I mean, because and that sounds awful. I mean,
No, I
but,
mean you got to sell.
but
good
I mean,
stuff.
we've got to sell it, so
Yeah.
we do ask that it's presentable.
It is okay to
It's-
have standards
it's-
on thrifting.
Yeah, it's okay to have
Yes.
standards. On
That just
thrifting.
tells you the quality you'll
Yeah,
get if you go to these thrift
exactly,
stores, folks.
Exactly, it is
Okay.
top quality.
Yes.
Cool thing at the Red Bank thrift store, we've got an agreement with the White Oak Bicycle Co-op, and so they actually sell some of their bikes in there, and
Okay.
to help generate funds for them to support the programming that they do as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
And then Saudi Daisy, that one in Saudi Daisy, I call it a treasure trove. You never know what you're going to find.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes it's the most unique, random things.
It's like the McKays of
It is, of thrift
thrift
stores.
You just
It
have to
is.
go every
You
now
have
and
to
then to
go.
know what will be there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
'Cause sometimes this is now McKay's. So McKay's is my favorite
Yeah,
store because
yeah.
book nerd, right? And the motto that I think they should adopt is sometimes you strike out, sometimes you strike gold, but you'll never know unless you go. Right?
Oh, I
so,
like
so
it.
you need
Yeah.
you need something
We need
like this. It
something
sounds
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah.
You can
It
can adopt that.
definitely
I
is.
don't need a royalty. Just every now and then, give me credit. No.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, so
Yeah.
fantastic. So let's say there's someone listening. We've got pastors and church people is a big part of our audience,
Yeah.
but they're definitely people local in Chattanooga. Somebody's hearing this and they're saying, "I'd love to get involved." How do they begin that process or get involved with you guys? Or what are some opportunities that go along with some of these things? Like, are there after school volunteers that are needed to go with these people that work at the schools? Are there thrift store? How do you run the thrift stores? Are there volunteers there? Tutoring, just sort of speak to some of these opportunities.
Well, you've nailed it on the head. Yes.
All right.
Volunteers. I mean, we definitely need volunteers. We're always looking for volunteers. And, those opportunities can range from an individual doing something to a group doing something. So yes, I mean, we've got places for volunteers to plug in the after school space. Have to go through a background check. I mean, as part of Hamilton
Yeah.
County Schools. I mean, as should be.
Yep.
But it could be coming in to help tutor a student. It could be coming in to teach a class. I mean, if you've got a special skill that you want to share. Our coordinators in the schools also are working with the teachers to identify people for connected classrooms. So, for example, I can't remember, I think it was Saudi Elementary. They were doing a unit on space. And so they found somebody who worked for NASA who came in, who lives here in Chattanooga. They came in and talked about, this is what it's like working for NASA.
Mm.
So just it makes that connection for the students to go, hey, I might be able to work for NASA someday and never leave Chattanooga. Or, hey, I could work for NASA and move to Huntsville or Texas or wherever. Um,
I went to high school with a girl that's now in NASA flight control. That's my
that's cool.
sideways claim to fame. Okay, time back in. Time
Very
in. I didn't
cool.
say time out, but time back in.
Yeah. So I mean, there are many opportunities within the schools. We have groups that will come in because we help. If there are upgrades that need to take place at the school, like painting or
Mm-mm-mm.
something on the playground, mulching.
You guys help coordinate that kind of a thing.
We do,
Wow.
yeah. We are coordinators because they're so invested in those schools.
Wow.
And working with our staff, we'll help get people directed to get them to go paint a playground or paint a teacher's room or whatever the need may be. In our thrift stores, we need people. I mean, we definitely need people. Volunteers help us in sorting through donations and helping us decide. It's like, is this year or do we need to file it away? That's going to be like for Christmas. I mean, because people donate, random stuff all year long.
Right.
And so we got to keep it organized. And they also help us keep product on the floor. So all three of our thrift stores, we couldn't do it without volunteers. I mean, because the volume of donations is plentiful, and it's wonderful to have those extra hands. And then individuals to help us on various committees. We lean on volunteer committees to help us make decisions, whether it's in our stability programming or our community schools, or even on our fundraising events. We've got volunteer committees that are out there helping be the face for the Northside Neighborhood House in the community to help. It's that old, and they'll tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends,
Yep,
and they'll tell
yep,
two friends.
Yep.
Yeah, so we've got plenty of volunteer opportunities.
And you guys, I know, keep a newsletter.
We do.
So if they want to sign up, because the newsletter is a great way to just know what's going on and find out about these, like maybe you're saying, well, I might be a good one-off volunteer, but I can't just keep committing. I need to sort of be selective, or when something comes up, how do they sign up for your newsletter?
Yeah. So if they visit inhouse.org, Northside Neighborhood,
Yep.
inhouse.org, there is a button, I think, at the top that says connect. And from there, they can sign up for the newsletter. We also keep a blog on there, the latest news and blog. And that's a great place to go and see about things that have happened in the news, or when we publish white papers, which we've actually had one on affordable housing and one on living wages.
Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah. So as part of our strategic plan, I think it's 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we made a decision to add a community impact strategist to our team. And so basically they are there to have, this person's role is to have her ear to the ground.
I was going to say, I think I met this person.
You did, Sarah. Yeah. So she is really working closely with our staff, analyzing data, running a community advisory board that we have, where it is neighbors that have benefited from our program in years past, where they're coming together and sharing what's going on. And we'll give a different topic. It's like whether it's transportation, is it living wages, is it affordable housing, is it whatever it may be, childcare, getting their input and their feedback, just so that we're staying ahead of what's going on, because that's how we design our programming. She also is really trying to be the voice, and through these white papers, sharing the voice of the individuals that we're serving to shed a light on the hardships and just what life is like for the individuals in our community.
Yeah. I mean, and that's part of this whole thing. Like, let's use the power of media and information to help people be aware of where they can jump in, kind of a thing. So, I want to be clear, Northside Neighborhood House, you guys work with a lot of Christian groups, not an overtly Christian organization. So I just want to throw it out there. You work with lots of churches, and
We do.
Churches absolutely jump in. This is a great way to get involved, especially with the northern side of the county. I just want to recommend it to pastors. They're just such a strong organization that does such good work. Sort of getting toward the end of this interview, I just have two sort of final questions. One is, we've got people that will hear this and be praying for you. Is there any particular prayer request that you would like to offer at this point to give to people? Say, hey, pray for this right now.
Well, I was thinking about, I think about that often. I mean, right now, I would say pray for the students that are going to be out this summer, because some of these students are in situations where they may not have food. We had a family come in the other day, and the mother was like, school's ending. And I mean, we run a food pantry as well, an emergency food pantry. But the mother's like, I don't know how I'm going to feed my kids this summer. So be in prayer for the students and their families, that they're going to find the help and the resources and the support that they need.
Yeah, there's another bill that's really high right now, is the grocery bill, and food insecurity being a real thing.
It is a real thing.
Which is, it's hard for a lot of people that, especially our audience, or not especially our audience, but just people that have the means to listen to podcasts, for example, often don't think of these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So
that has been a growing need over this past year. I mean, the visits to our food pantry and we're very small. We're very small. We've had many churches that will do food drives and bring us the food that keeps it stocked, which is fabulous.
Great way to be involved.
It is fabulous. It's a great way to be involved. Yeah.
And you're available, obviously, if
absolutely
anybody wants to, hey, not any of those things quite fit, but I'm sure there's somewhere where this works. You can help them find a place, or one of your volunteer coordinators can help. Yep.
Absolutely.
So So if you didn't hear your particular thing, find another way, contact them, because the need is just constantly in the state of being overwhelming, right?
It is. Yeah. It really is.
And then just sort of final question I like to end with is there a vision that you'd like to cast, maybe even especially for the northern part of this county, of hey, this is what we're trying to build together and see together, or what we could hope for Chattanoogans?
Yeah. I would say it is a thriving community where our neighbors are able to not just survive, but thrive. That they are finding their pathway, and that they are able to find that stability that they're looking for, to ensure that children have the education that they need.
And for people, and I'll just add, I love just it's the, give them a hand up. That is, you guys have such a track record of doing that. And it's just, that's the kind of helping that I think motivates a lot of people. Is I want to invest and see, help people move forward, especially hardworking people that are doing their best. That you guys are even tracking well with, to help make sure that they continue to be able to do
exactly
their best and even better with what they've got. Yeah. Well, Jenny, you have done a very impressive job of keeping track of a whole lot of information and programs and being able to articulate that well, all in one super fast interview. So hats off to you there.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, love the work that you guys are doing. Keep at it. And if there's any way that we can help, let us know. But I'm, again, just to the audience, as we sign off here, want to encourage you to at least sign up for that newsletter, because they've, as you can tell, we only scratched the surface. There's a lot going on with this organization, and there's a constant need. You never know when there might be something that is a great place for you to fit in.
Absolutely.
And jump in. And once you do, you'll probably get hooked and enjoy it, get more out of it than you realize. So
absolutely.
Thank you again for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you all for listening. Hey everybody, just wanted to let you know about our website, praychattanooga.com. If you visit, you'll find all sorts of resources that will help you develop a stronger prayer life. For pastors and ministry leaders, we have prayer networks that meet all across town, from Lafayette to north of Saudi Daisy. We have prayer resources that help you learn more about prayer and deepen your prayer life. And we have retreats that are happening here all the time. You can come for a custom retreat, or you can come for one of the ones that we host. You'll find all of that, again, on our website, praychattanooga.com.